Neijah Lanae, and you are watching Group Chat. Today, I am here with Kennady and Schelsey. They are two art queens that I love very, very much. Schelsey is the owner and operator of Layman Space in Chinatown, among many other amazing things. Mm-hmm. And Kennady is a painter and artist. So yeah, how did I meet you? I don't even remember.
I feel like we had to have met at like an art event or something. You know, like I think we probably met through the grapevine. Like, and
I'm like trying to remember. I probably should have thought about this a little bit before now.
I just feel like I just remember, you know, like you reaching out to me for girls' art show and like, yeah. But I don't know how we met before that, like how we got connected.
Do we meet on Instagram?
It's quite possible. But I like to think we met at an art in real life at least.
Yeah. Well, Kennady has done girls' art show twice.
Yeah.
You did, wait, right? Didn't you do that very first one?
The first one
where it was like a huge group show and there were like 12 artists.
Yeah.
And then you just did recently a solo version of girls' art show where all of my friends got really dope self-portraits or not self-portraits, but portraits drawn by you.
Yeah, I did portraits at the first one too.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, I need to get her back so I can get a portrait.
Yeah. I love that space like so much because it gives me the time to just like relax and like get to talk to people. Yeah. Usually the events are like 2 hours or 3 hours. Yeah. Know, and I wouldn't put myself through that stress for a short event like that.
Thank you.
So yeah, I love the span of like the girls' art shows.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Schelsey, I met you because Neijah at the Art Ho Collective show that was at Layman Space a while back. Yeah. And you were like, you're so cool. Like, I want you to do an event at my space. And I was like, me? And now we've been doing girls for like so long.
It's, what, is it nearing 2 years?
It'll be 2 years in October.
Since the first.
It'll be 2 years in October.
That's incredible. Yeah. I remember because your voice is like very heartbreaking to me in the best way. Like
I felt that.
Not in a like it just.
I like this description.
Poignant. Yeah, it's poignant.
No, I like heartbreaking.
It is like it's so piercing. And I remember when for me it's I love like your single.
Thank you.
Wonder, you know, but I also like really, really love your cover of the Kid Cudi song.
Oh, Pursuit of Happiness?
Yeah.
People get really excited for that one.
I don't think I've heard that.
I know it's not like I haven't recorded it. I don't think I recorded it yet.
You performed it?
But I've performed it. Like I perform it every now and then.
I missed it.
Yeah.
I love that song.
It's a deep ass song. Mm-hmm. Kid Cudi is like.
I love him so much.
He's like an angel. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, that made me really happy.
Good.
But I wanted to start things off with both of you kind of telling me how you got to, I guess, pursue art or your creativity like in the way that you do now.
You want me to take
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I was raised up, you know, like coloring books, like that was my shit, you know, like tracing pictures out of, you know, like the Disney books that we had. Me and my sister were like always like, we just loved drawing growing up, and our uncle was an artist as well, so he would draw pictures for us, and we would just like get like so excited, like, oh my god, how can you do that? That's so crazy. So it was like that constant source of inspiration. And one of our cousins drew. We had paintings from our aunts and uncles like when they were growing up, so we were just surrounded by art as children. But in terms of like making the decision to choose, you know, like art as a passion and as like, you know, like my way of sustaining myself, that didn't really come along until after I left from the university that I couldn't afford to attend anymore. And that was Seton Hall. Me and my sister, after we graduated, we moved straight to New Jersey. We were there for like the first semester, but just couldn't afford to stay.
Yeah.
And while I was there, I was majoring in biochem and had a minor in studio art.
Wow.
Because they were like, oh yeah, like you have to have something, you know, that's stable and like you'll be sure to get a job, you know, and like you can just do your art on the side. And I was like, okay, cool. I like biology and I like, you know, chemistry, and I like how I can, you know, possibly come up with ways to, you know, enhance our imprint, or like kind of step back, you know, the way that we're influencing the earth and make it more sustainable. So that was why I was like, I'll do biochem.
Yeah.
And I liked the classes when I was there, but then again, I couldn't afford to stay. And then me and my sister moved out to California, where we lived with our aunt in Corona for a while. And we were able to go to free community college. And that's when I started taking studio art classes, like seriously.
Nice.
And really just like getting in touch with my, you know, with different techniques and skill sets that I didn't have before. You know, the desire was always there, but I didn't really have the tools until, you know, I went to study at Norco Community College. Nice. Yeah, and that's where I just like have been growing from that point.
That's beautiful. I never knew any of that.
Yeah.
Did you study biochem?
I had no idea that you were a science head.
I barely got to start, but yeah, I definitely have.
I had a similar trajectory to you.
Me and Schelsey look at math memes together.
Yeah,
it's like one of our favorite things to do.
Yes. I love those. Math memes are great.
But I think it's interesting how you studied biochem, but then you kept the art. Is that just because that's like a part of you that
I mean, I had to do like the general education and all that other kind of stuff, but I was just like, I'm just gonna spend all of the efforts, you know, towards this art thing, because like I realized very early on how important it was for me to process, you know, like what's going on under the surface through some outlet, you know, and drawing. Like I would draw, like when I first started drawing, I was making like some really weird creepy shit, and like it was just because I hadn't processed any of that shit growing up, you know. So it was just coming out, and people would be like, yo, that's fucking weird, like, oh, that's creepy, like I don't want to look at that. Do you
really like look back and see like different phases in your art, and you're like, damn, I've like really grown
100%
from that mind state?
Yes, yeah,
because that's how I am with my music. I'm like,
yeah, it's just a reflection. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, but I was really influenced by like Alex Pardee and like some other like visionary artists like Alex Gray. I when I first like really became interested, but early on I was just like, I just wanted to put all of my energy into it. And not that I'd lost interest in the science aspect, but just knowing how much investment it would take to really, you know, like make an impact and to really like integrate the knowledge. I was just like, I want to do art way too much to like split my energy like that.
I really, really relate to that.
Yeah.
I studied physics for a while. I studied like a good portion of it, but not enough to get the major. Yeah. Because I was straddling the art and the physics. And I remember in my electricity and magnetism class, I had this professor who would always play the Beatles and was always talking about music, and he was a musician in a band. And but he was a physics professor, so clearly like he got a doctorate and devoted his life to this. So I went up to him one day and I was like, so how did you, like, clearly you have two passions here, how did you decide on one of them, or decide to pursue one of them with a more of a professional focus? And he was like, and I explained my situation. He's like, do both and see which one wins. And which relieved a lot of my anxiety about picking one or doing both or whatever. It was just like, go with the flow. And that's kind of, I followed that. And then I realized, I was like, you know, I like physics in certain ways, but I don't want to devote my life. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to be in a lab. And I found that I was much more excited to spend all-nighters doing my art. Like, it wasn't a question. I would just do it. I wouldn't realize what time it was.
There's no other feeling.
I never heard it that way. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Even thinking about, I feel like you've told me the doing both and find out which one wins, but that really spoke to me right now.
You know, like, whoa.
I was really lucky at that age, like at this age of 19 and 20, where I think a lot of us, I think the minority of people knew what they wanted to do and actually followed through with it. But I think a lot of us were figuring out a lot about ourselves. It's a very confusing time. And I was lucky to come across people at random. Like one time I was at the car shop and this woman started talking to me. We were talking and I was explaining, I like art, but I like physics. And she was like, I studied international relations and global business, but now I do catering. And I love it. And I own my own business. And she's like, don't sweat it. Like, your own path is going to make itself. And what you do now will help you in the future. You don't need to stress about planning right now. Just do what feels right and you'll make use of it. And I think like I said, like I met a few people who gave me this wisdom. So I didn't have too much stress about it, that was great.
How did you transition after, or did you start working on Les Mis during college, or did you do it after?
No, I started doing it after. Yeah.
How did you, how was that transition? Was it like very soon after?
Maybe about a year after college. I mean, it was kind of a blurry thing because it was talked about for a long time within my family. Like I refer to Les Mis, even though I'm the director and I do most of it and you see my face all the time, I refer to it as a family business because it really like couldn't exist without all of us working together. But it was talked about probably around the end of college, and then it was just such a long process of trying to get things together, and then even me procrastinating and being like, oh, do I need to have like thinking I needed to get a lot of things in place, and then finally just being like, you know what, whatever I plan right now is probably gonna not turn out the way that I want it to turn out, so let me do this more experientially and get the ball rolling and figure it out along the way.
Yeah, that's scary. It's like that cliche. I've been saying this a lot this week. Leap and the net will appear. Like you just had to like get in there and do it. Yeah. And learn along the way and experience it and grow with it. Because I feel like the space has evolved like in the short time that I've known you, and like you, the way you manage it has like evolved in the short time. So it's like, you just gotta get in there and do it.
Yeah, I think there's also like going into it with that mindset allowed me to forgive to go in saying, you know what, you're gonna mess up. Things are gonna go wrong. There are gonna be things that you don't foresee, and you have to forgive yourself because you're learning. And also because I'm working with other people, very important to communicate my shortcomings so that they can be aware of what could possibly come up, but giving myself that space of experimentation allowed me to actually receive these what could be mistakes or failures, to receive them as lessons and to move forward without getting stuck in pride or like self-hate or something like that.
I've been stuck both those places before. Kennady, so you were, when did you start, at what point did you start, I guess, sharing your work?
I started sharing my work when I was still at Norco and RCC. Like me and my sister joined the art club there, and we like organized a bunch of shit. We were like, hey, let's go to the art walk, and like set up a booth for the art club, and like that was probably like my first little taste of sharing my work. And then from that point I had my first solo show in 2015, I think, around my birthday too. It was in 2015.
Nice.
At this shop called the Blood Orange Info Shop, now known as the Black and Brown Underground, but they're looking for a new space. But
nice.
The folks there, like so welcoming, so inclusive, like yeah, they just like were willing. Like I just walked up and I was like, hey, like I love this space. Every art walk I would go in there and check out the art, and like, you know, and I was like, hey, could I like do like what do I have to do to get a solo show here? And they were like, you can just come set up your work. Like we're open for the month of July, for the month of May. So yeah, I went, set that up, and that was like my first like solo show, and I met a lot of people out there that, you know, became the basis of my community, you know, of artists at RCC and just like in Riverside in general. That kind of like was like my clique, you know, until I ended up moving to LA. And yeah, the first show I had in LA was before I even moved out here, and it actually got me the space that I was able to live in. You know, like my first show was at Think Tank, and I was a part of Brute Fact Art Show. They showed at Layman Space once too. My friend Isaac organized that show, but yeah, Brute Fact was the first show I had in LA. It was a group show. A lot of really dope local LA artists like Glabo, like this graffiti artist, and Eats Glass on Instagram. Willie, he makes some really dope art. Yeah.
Schelsey was like, what?
Yeah, they're really sick dudes. Like, yeah, there's like a lot of really dope like LA natives there. Yeah. And so yeah, that built a good little standing community for me out here. So I really have been just like welcomed with open arms like before I even moved to LA.
I wanted to talk with you guys about community because obviously studying your craft or studying just that practice of having schooling and that information and those resources is obviously very important. Yeah. But once you kind of are ready to put yourself out there, you start to attract energy that complements your energy, and you start to form bonds and friendships, and you have even more resources and even more people to like lean on when you put yourself out there and you start to build this community. And I think that space is very important. And Schelsey, you are a person who openly provides that space for people to like connect and build these relationships and community, like things that like last forever. Like you said that you moved to LA based on your show, that you like probably connected with someone and met people there that believed in you. I like lost my train of thought. talking. But I guess how, for you, Schelsey, how has that been seeing all the different people that kind of move through Layman with their shows and their passions and their ideas, and the people that come in and experience it and how they all connect and start to build bigger things?
These people are magical to me. Like I said, so I started recently working or studying art therapy, and like it's taking a step back and going to a different like context. Oops. Is my mic okay? Oh, is it? I think I clicked something.
Clicked the switch.
Okay. For the first time ever, I was not at a Layman Space event.
Wow.
So it's like it was like sending.
And wait,
my
how
kid
many
to
years
preschool.
has Layman been open?
4 years.
Okay, so for the
4
first
years
time
old.
in 4 years. Yeah. Sent your kid to I got it.
So taking this step away, even in this short 2 weeks, has really made me very grateful about the people that come to Layman, the people that I work with. I have so much admiration for people who devote their entire lives to art, because it's a vocation, like it in beyond just a job. It's like a whole lifestyle, a whole life choice, a life path. And I think it's very frightening. Like I think most people wouldn't decide to put themselves in that situation, because it's it's not being an artist is hard.
Yeah.
But I see so much beauty in it, and I see so much I see so much beauty, I see so much courage and so much admiration, or I have so much admiration. And am I answering your question? Basically, like, I'm very inspired by the people I work with, and they have informed my art process. Like they have, whether they know it or not, they have pushed me to make better art, in my opinion.
Yeah. Every girl's art show, or at least for a long time when I was like planning everything by myself before Helix came on board, I would get like stressed. Like I would be like running around doing all this stuff, and then I was working full time as well, and I would always have these moments where I'm like, all right, this is the last one. Like I'm not doing this again. and then I would show up at the event, and it would be one person or maybe like a couple people that would come up to me and say, thank you so much. I really needed this. And then I'm like, oh shit, I'm doing it again next month. They're like, Schelsey, when can we do this again? But like, just like connecting with people, because obviously I love to sing and I want to have a space to do that. But like being able to like curate and give other women space to share their art or have a platform, and then have other people just come in and experience that, and that be in some way a relief or therapeutic to them. That is a really amazing feeling.
Like, I feel like sometimes I get mired by the whole critique of art as being like individualistic and like masturbatory and indulgent and selfish. But that's what Layman did for me. It was when I went there and I saw people come from like Fullerton to come see the art sometimes, and I'm like, shit, like that is the worst commute and you did this. Like this was worth it for you.
Yeah.
And to me that's like, okay, you know what, there's something here that's really powerful and valuable, not only for us the artists but for the viewers. And that's that, like I love that. That was the discovery I made in Layman's space.
And just like meeting all of these dope artists. I'm pretty sure we met on Instagram, but I could be wrong because I'm wrong a lot. But
well, if you've triangulated that information in your brain, you know, who am I to say that?
I don't know, Kennedy. I'll be wrong. I'll be having a bad memory. But just like being able to meet artists like you and like have conversations with you and just building this kind of network and community of people is something that I feel like, I mean, I know I definitely wouldn't have it if it weren't for us doing stuff like this or like being out there with our different creative.
Yeah, I think LA is a very special place for that, because even if you go out to an event where you know absolutely no one, you know, you think you know no one, there'll be somebody that you recognize.
That part.
There'll be someone you recognize, somebody that's like related to your creativity, you know, in some way. And that's just how crazy like expansive and like tight knit at the same time the creative community is out here. And it's I think we're definitely providing a service, you know, like artists, art makers, art hosters, like whatever it is, like we're providing a service to our communities just by giving them that place that they can go and just, you know, kind of not separate from, you know, like their problems or from the world, but they can just look at it from a different, more beautiful perspective, or a different, you know, like in a different light that allows them to, you know, process whatever it is that they needed to, but with less of the strain of like, you know, like their psychological issues or like implications, you know. It's like reprieve.
We're running a little low on time, but I had one more, I guess, question. What would you say to anyone who is interested or preparing to pursue their passion, but they just need that extra little push, or maybe they're just in the contemplation stage and they haven't really gone out there to do it yet? What advice or encouragement would you give them?
When you say pursuing, you mean like just like actively like sharing it?
Yeah,
like,
sharing, like putting it out there.
I'd say you're your biggest critic, you know, like don't worry about what anyone else has to say. Just accept whatever comes out as a reflection of yourself. And if you're able to accept that, then you'll be able to reach people.
Nice.
Going back from what Kennedy said a little while ago about just like when you were like, how do I have a show here? And they were like, well, just set up. I think that's important. I had that experience recently. I went to this coffee shop and they had art, and I was like, well, what's the curation process? How do I apply? And they're like, just email us. Like, it's not that formal. I mean, I think in the bigger galleries it's more complicated, but in these smaller spaces there is opportunity, and usually you just have to go for it and ask. And it's very important to show your work. I think like for yourself, it provides really good perspective.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for coming here and chatting it up.
Thanks for having
on
us.
Group Chat like that. I'm Neijah Lanae. You're watching Group Chat with Schelsey and Kennady. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.